Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We've got our heaviest haul yet with the F-250. This trailer's really a little bit above its tow capacity. We're gonna have to be careful. We're gonna go slow. We are going about 300 miles with it, but let me show you what the trailer is. Guys, pushing the absolute limits of this Ford F-250 right here. This is a 2010 model or 2011 model maybe. Sure Track, little 6x12 landscape trailer, 3,000 pound total capacity. We have really heavy lumber on here, about 10 2x4s. And the bed is just absolutely chock full of items. Look at that. So much stuff in there. We'll do a mile per gallon test with all of this kind of very different load than what I would normally tow, right? Very light trailer, but trailers do suck your mileage down just in general a little bit. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And yeah, I'll give you any other pertinent information for towing a nice light load with a big old truck like this. So stay tuned. Gotta finish loading up. It's like 6 in the morning. All right, folks, I'm about to teach y'all a lesson about aerodynamics. Listen here. So, you have a graded trailer gate. I don't know if you can see that in the rear view mirror. The openings are so small on that grate, they're only like this big, that the way that the air hits them, it actually creates a wall, like a curtain of air, and it is very equivalent to just towing a piece of, plywood, right? Imagine if that gate was covered in plywood. It's very equivalent to that, and less equivalent to something that's mostly open surface area like it looks, right? You would think the air would just pass right through it, but it doesn't because of that effect. So because of that, even though this trailer combination with the payload that I have, we've got maybe 2,000 pounds total payload with people and cargo and a couple bins, and we're not loaded yet. This is our empty trip there, and we got to load up to go or to get all the stuff to go home. But we would be getting about 15 or 16 mpg empty. We're getting 11.8. Now it has been crawling up, so it'll probably get into the 12s, maybe even 13. But despite being such a small amount of weight, it does still affect your fuel economy more than you might think. So just keep that in mind. If you can get rid of that trailer gate, or in my case, I could have folded it down onto the bed of the trailer. I just chose not to. Because I didn't really care that much, but you could fold it all the way down and then keep that trailer like a more of an open back, and then you might have a more successful higher fuel economy run. So we're now 108 miles into the trip. We are right at 12 miles per gallon. It does seem to be leveling off there. We're going 70 miles an hour, 71 technically. Folks, we're in the belly of the beast. We're in North Jersey. It stinks, as it always does, but our MPGs are up to 12.5, and I've been hot rodding it a little bit. I think the truck, because I've towed so much the last few tanks, was kind of like under averaging it. So I'm curious by the end of this tank if it'll pump into the 13 range, because it has been pretty steadily climbing over the last 172 miles. But I guess we'll see. Regardless, we are 95 miles from our destination, so we will find out. Stay tuned. I should also mention, and I really despise the term "it tows like there's nothing behind you," because you should be responsible and understand that you have a trailer behind you at all times, no matter how big or small. But if there were ever a time to say it tows like there's nothing behind you, it would be this mostly empty landscaping trailer, because the truck doesn't even shift any different. Doesn't really feel any slower. Obviously, if you drag raced it against an empty truck, it would be a little bit slower, but in the real world, unless you're just hot rodding around, it feels the same. And yeah, so very good performance overall, which I would have expected given what this is and how light the load is. All right, we are now 28 miles from our destination, 238 into the trip. We seem to be leveling off at 12.8 mpg, so my guess is if we hand calculated this, we would also be close to that, because I've noticed with this truck, if you're kind of climbing into your final mileage on the tank, it tends to be closer than if you're dropping to your final mileage throughout the tank on the screen. So I bet the hand calculation would be similar, if not actually a touch higher, as opposed to a touch lower. Unfortunately, I won't know exactly what the towing mileage was, because we are going to be driving empty, running a few errands after this. Close enough. The computer is usually within 2 to 5 tenths anyway, so you're getting a good estimation on what the economy is just by looking at the screen. It's never grossly off, I've found. All right, folks, we've made it to our destination. 12.9. We almost broke the 13 mpg barrier, but we did not. So kind of about what I expected earlier in the video. So I have to at least kind of I have a good sense of what the truck can do. But we're gonna get unhooked here, get some lunch, and go from there. All right, folks, we got the old F-250 loaded up for the return trip. Lots of ratchet straps on here. She hashtag ain't going anywhere. There are some interesting ones like this, but there's logic behind all this. Just take my word for it. But we're nice and secure. I took it around the block already. We got the zip ties helping to hold all the straps on just in case things shift over the course of the trip. Got the bubble wrap to keep some stuff safe. Those 2x4s were for a frame I was going to make if I needed to, but we're all set. And yeah, she's all hitched up. The only bad news is my tank of fuel was 12.5 mpg hand calculated. I'm actually shocked that it was that much lower than the computer, given the fact that it was rising into the number. Like I said earlier, usually that means you're going to actually be right at the computer rating or a little bit higher. But it is what it is, guys. So she got 12.5 empty, and the funny thing is, I bet you she's going to get 12.5 loaded, or very similar, because I think it was a wind resistance thing and not a weight. But we'll see. Maybe it'll be lower. So stay tuned. That is New York City, my friends. It's about as close as I ever want to be to it. Frankly, this is too close to New York City. And we're back. We're about 100 miles into our return trip. If you'll notice, we are rocking 13 mpgs per the computer, which is very interesting because, as we discussed earlier, we only had 12.5 empty coming down, and yet we're at 13 now. So I'm curious to see what the hand calculation is, but I have a sneaking suspicion it will be very similar, because we don't have really that much weight. We probably only have another 2,000 pounds, let's say. And you know, maybe our aerodynamics are actually a little bit better with all the bins and items on the trailer. It's so hard to say. When you're talking these kind of weights, like I mentioned, it all comes into the aerodynamic question, and a lot less of the actual weight holding you back. So I will tune back in with you guys when we're closer to home. We had 200 miles left to go, so we'll do another check-in at like 50 miles left to go, and we'll wrap the video up after. So we just stopped, got all the straps retightened down. Didn't really lose too many of the straps. Oh, I missed one. See? Why we're doing this. But anyway, other than that strap right there that you just saw, again, always do the zip tie trick so you don't lose them fully. Other than that strap, everything stayed pretty tight. So we'll go ahead and fix that one. And I already tightened everything else, so we're in good shape. But another 150 miles to go, give or take. And we'll get our fuel economy readings. We did hit some traffic, so not going to be as good as the other tank for sure. But we'll talk about it. Well, we just got done with about an hour's worth of pretty dense traffic. I don't know if you can see with the glare, but we're down to 12.4 for MPGs. We also stopped and just tightened some straps, checked on the load as you saw. So that never helps your mileage. When you're on Route 17 in Jersey, if you've ever driven that road, it's basically a Mad Max movie in real life. So you have to just kind of drive a certain way to keep yourself alive. And unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily net the best fuel economy. However, I would still say 12.4 on the computer is surprisingly close to the 12.9 on the computer that we had with the empty trailer coming down. And potentially, we can battle back a few tenths of an MPG as we make the rest of this trip. So we'll see. My strapping technique is pretty good, but we've been losing a couple of soldiers here and there. We got a little more motion than I'd like, so we're gonna do one more little strap down. We're getting relatively close to home. It's kind of a weird maze of lies we got going on, but not too awful bad. Actually, it looks, every time I get out, it looks better than what it looked like in the truck, which is good, but here. This is the one that popped off that I think I noticed. That bin actually wasn't going to go anywhere anyway. Let's fix it. Better safe than sorry. As they say. Is that free now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right there?
It was over this one, I think.
All right, everyone, we got about 20 miles left now. We've leveled off very solid at 12.3. So figure, even if you take the lower end of that, 11.9 or 12, hand calculated probably. So our overall trip mileage is 12.6. So figure 12.1 or 12.2 at the worst. And yeah, so even though it's a small light trailer, definitely knocks a couple 2-tree MPG off for a trip like this. But it is what it is. The interesting thing, of course, with this data, as I mentioned, is the fact that the mileage has turned out to be very similar, loaded versus empty, which I kind of was thinking would happen. So, aerodynamics. We've now learned a lesson in it, a real-world lesson in it. And with that being said, I am going to shut this video down. We are running out of daylight. Beautiful sunset that we're driving into, and tomorrow morning we got a lot of unloading to do and organizing and throwing a bunch of stuff away, and no comment. Anyway, as always, everyone, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.